It's a very large number of startups that don't make it past the first year, and then more in the second, more in the third. And that 5 year mark is kind of the golden mark, right? When folks come to us in that stage of like pivotal moment, we're going to make it or we're not going to be here in a year, we get to really speak to them about ways that they can apply their special skills to make that success more possible, and where we can fit in and take some of the stuff that's not their special skills off their plate. But another thing that I think is important to startup founders is knowing that the work that we're doing isn't going to be lost when they do succeed and get to bring in their own marketing team. So that's where we really focus on systems and repeatable processes that they get to keep even when it's time to move on.
All right. Hey, everybody. This is Roger with Kinsta. Today, I'm joined by a good friend and a local friend, Kelsey. Hey, Kelsey, how are you?
Hi, Roger. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Kelsey, we know each other from being in the Durango Memphis area, and you've helped me host the WordPress Durango local meetup group, and we've interacted a bunch, but I've never gotten like the origin story. How did you get into digital marketing, and what's the story there?
Yeah, I actually, it's funny. I think for a lot of people, when you look back at your career, you don't really catch the threads while you're in it, but reflecting brings some of the things together. My business partner, Kate, really, met me when I first moved to Durango from Albuquerque, New Mexico, at 9 years old. She sat next to me in elementary school, my first day of school, and basically forced me to be her friend. So that is like a very early point that my story will come back to. But ultimately, I met Kate when I was just a wee thing out in the dry
Okay.
side of Southwest Colorado. But moving forward, I had a lot of interest in entrepreneurship. I went to college at a liberal arts school, studied a lot of different things. And my final year in college, got connected with a startup founder out in Washington, D.C., and started my career in startups. So I was wearing a lot of hats in small, close-knit teams. I got completely addicted to the unemployable startup founder, the oddballs in a warehouse making cool things happen from thin air,
Sure.
selling products that don't quite exist yet. And over years and years and years of working in the startup scene, I think I just developed my taste for making things out of nothing, for telling incredible stories and talking to whoever would listen, right? Which I think is one of the qualities as well. It's like, who is my audience? Let's find out. We're just going to talk to a lot of people.
Sure.
Now, after many, many years of traveling, working for different organizations, I spent some time in China and moved back to the States. And that's when I reconnected with Kate and really found a home in this world that I'd never experienced before, which is marketing agency. So I joined in her agency that she was working for at the time as an operations person, creating systems for their agency to serve their clientele. And they were interested in me because of my experience with startups, really. Yeah. And did that for 5 years with Kate before we decided to open our own doors and serve our area, this region. Yeah, I think what really attracted me to the agency life is I had so much fun working in oddball small teams. Now I get to work with multiple oddball small teams at once, and I am never bored, not a minute of any day. I also just feel really grateful to be able to run my own company and provide jobs and get people working in their unique gifts. Yeah, so that's been really rewarding too, rather than just being in operations. But yeah,
Sure.
so
Okay. All right. So
from childhood all through.
So it's been in the cards for a long time. When you look back on your experience with startups, what are like some main takeaways that you got in that experience that really help guide you in your work today?
Yeah, I think I'm often taken back to my sense that creating something from nothing takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of creative thinking, right? So I was always drawn to that. And one thing that I think sometimes is missing in a startup experience is structure and systematization. So that becomes an area that there's a huge sense of relief when that can come in, whether that be through operations or through support in way of people or systems, and definitely processes. Once you have created something, how do you replicate that, and how do you save yourself time and energy so that you can keep doing the visionary work, right?
Sure.
So
No,
that stands out a
absolutely.
lot to me.
Okay, very cool. And I want to touch just for a second here because you mentioned China. So, where in China were you?
The biggest city you've never heard of. I was in Chengdu. It's
Okay.
the capital of Sichuan province where all the really spicy food and panda bears come from.
Okay.
And I was getting my master's in linguistics at Sichuan University.
Whoa.
Yeah, so doing a lot of studying and then consulting startups, which in China, a startup is anything 500 employees or fewer, but consulting them and how to approach North American markets, right? Which I didn't realize at the time was branding and positioning work, right?
Sure.
It's like,
Sure. Absolutely.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
cool. Okay, so that's straight into the deep end right there. Is there anything from those experiences that inform what you're doing today?
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing that you hear when folks speak broadly about Chinese industry, at least 10 years ago when I was there, was kind of this focus on copying and churn and burn, right? And I think that it is more relevant now than ever with the rise of AI, of just seeing how that rapid copying approach and the quick churn and burn does not serve an organization or a company in the long term. Which
Sure.
isn't to say that, using ChatGPT is not the way that you should go. I think you need to incorporate AI, but
Yeah.
just understanding the value of originality, of putting something out there that has the audience in mind and the person you're trying to talk to in mind. It's more relevant than it has ever been because it's easier than ever before to just mass create content, mass create websites and landing pages in the context of marketing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that was an interesting experience of just actually seeing a leader of mine back from those days send me a website and be like, okay, I want all of these blog articles, but on our website. And at that time, that seemed so wild to me. But now I'm seeing this resurgence, but not in China,
Yeah, right.
worldwide.
Right. Yeah, everywhere. Everywhere all the time. So, I guess that's a great kind of segue into how are you approaching AI when you're working with your clients now?
Absolutely. Well, as an operations person, I think of AI as part of my workforce and more like an intern in my workforce. So I want to leverage the tools available to me in AI to help with some of the time saving, to collect information, to collect ideas, to support in rough drafts. And then we have our high level experts that come in and take that great material. Thank you so much. And take it to the next level, right? And more often than not, that's leveraged in outlining ideas for us. And then also on the operations side is supporting with systems. So coming up with meeting formats, coming up with interview question drafts that we can pick apart, and supporting with development of SOPs too. I talked a little bit about
Yeah.
systematization, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, okay, I'm going to tell you everything I did to make this outcome. Can you please write this out in a SOP for me? And
Excellent.
that's been
Excellent.
really helpful.
That's awesome. That's great. So, all right. So, kind of, getting near the end here. We've got still a few minutes. Can you talk me through specifically if a client engages you, what's happening? How does that look from like start to mid going and continuing to work on?
Yeah, so typically when we have folks approach us, especially in the startup space, they've just received some influx of funding and now they really have to put the rubber to the road, right?
Sure.
It's a very large number of startups that don't make it past the first year. and then more in the second, more in the third. And that 5 year mark is kind of the golden mark, right? When folks come to us in that stage of like pivotal moment, we're going to make it or we're not going to be here in a year, we get to really speak to them about ways that they can apply their special skills to make that success more possible, and where we can fit in and take some of the stuff that's not their special skills off their plate. And I think this is the case for a lot of agencies, like Kinsta as well, right? It's like, do you really want to be spending your time on XYZ when you need to be having critical sales conversations?
Sure.
Probably not, right?
Yeah.
So we're really like helping douse the fire on their hair
Okay.
and take things off their plate. But another thing that I think is important to startup founders is knowing that the work that we're doing isn't going to be lost when they do succeed and get to bring in their own marketing team. So that's where we really focus on systems and repeatable processes that they get to keep even when it's time to move on. And for us, like if a client gets to hire in-house, that's like a massive success, right? You've done it.
Excellent. Excellent. And that's a great attitude to hear, right? Because I know that there are a lot of situations. I mean, you guys are bridging the gap, right? You're getting them from, we have no idea exactly how to do this thing to, hey, we're a real full-fledged company and we need to start bringing stuff in-house. So that's awesome to hear that you guys are comfortable with that and you work with that in mind. As always, these conversations are fantastic and they're not enough time, but that's also what I love about them is it leaves more for later. I'd love to have you back on to talk some more about startup culture and your guys' approach to it. Can I count on you to join me at another time?
100%. And I'll see you at the WordPress Meetup in Durango too, Roger.
You betcha, you betcha. But before we go, to close out, if people want to get in touch with you, whether they want to hire you or they just want to see what's going on in your mind and LinkedIn or whatnot, where are you? Are you on LinkedIn? What are you up to?
Absolutely. We're on LinkedIn. We have our own website, of course, psychedigital.com. And you're welcome to email me directly if you want to run anything by me or ask any questions. Kelsey at psychedigital.com is my email address to reach me right off the bat. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram if that's your preferred channel.
Excellent, excellent. All
Yeah.
right. Well, Kelsey, I appreciate your time as always, and I do look forward to seeing you at the meetup here shortly, and I'll look forward to speaking with you soon.
Thank you so much, Roger. It's really fun.
Ciao.